Been advised that we do have a quorum. So we'll move on to item number 2, public comments relative to agenda items. Are there any public comments relative to agenda items? Any public comments relative to agenda items? Hearing none, we move on to item number 3. Independent consumer advocate comments and questions relative to agenda items.
Yeah, so I saw on the agenda that you were going to discuss, and I don't know what will come up for number 7, the Bob Barron payment projection issue. And I was copied on a letter from Commissioner Taylor regarding this issue. So just respond and comment on that a little bit. He asked directly, was the matter reported to the Independent Consumer Advocate for review? No, I wasn't any part of this separation agreement with Bob Barron, in case that's a question anyone had. Of the questions that Commissioner Taylor posed, one struck my interest, question 5. I don't know if everyone there is aware of his letter, but if you're not, maybe you could ask about it. It was dated May 9th.
Yeah, I think we should, excuse me, Elizabeth, but the agenda item was on there, and doesn't have really, has nothing to do with Commissioner Taylor's letter. The agenda item wasn't put on there in response to, or it it's been on there since, I think, before that letter. So it really doesn't respond to his letter at all. It's okay if you, it's up to you to say what you want to participate in, but it doesn't, it's not there for that purpose, so.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks. Of course, it just looks like a line item to me. It's not really much more I know about what's to be discussed tonight. But since I did look at his letter, he said, to what extent is board approval required for the financial considerations that go out? And so I figured I would pose that tonight, to the extent that the other commissioners aren't aware of it. That is a question I would echo, does everyone feel they had ample opportunity to review any agreement? To the extent that that is something that's being discussed tonight, that's my comment.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Item number 4, approval of meeting minutes of March 31st, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? I will say that I did discuss this with John Myrtle, but actually wrote to him, and he wrote back about the item that you were talking about, item number 7. The only reason it's there is because the minutes say that it was, make it sound like the issue was completed, but there was, as you heard, there was another action after that. So that's why it's on the agenda. So all in favor of accepting meetings, the minutes, the way they're presented, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Item number 5, consideration and potential action regarding the authorization to execute project loan and project grant agreements, project loan and project grant and principal forgiveness agreements, and interim funding obligations and project loan obligations in an amount not to exceed. And there are 6 items listed alphabetically. Again, I asked that we have somebody from staff, describe each one of the items, and refer us back to the CIP when we approved them, and talk about the project a little bit for us, describe it. So is that going to be you, Kelly?
That is going to be me.
Well, okay, so item letter A.
So I just wanted to take a step back for a second. And if you'll recall, last meeting, we had a similar presentation where I kind of went into the process of talking about the interim funding obligation and the project loan obligation and the process for executing them, went through the whole process, if you'll recall, and then went forward with the entire group of the integrated plan projects and requested that you give approval for all of those projects. We had lists of the projects dating back for multiple years of the integrated plan, I think 23, 24, 24 and 25. And we got permission from the Finance Committee and then subsequently the April board meeting, the board, to enter into those agreements. Before you today, and item A is a clean water fund project, not similar to what we did with the integrated plan projects. This is a specific clean water fund project, and I believe added to open text was a supplemental document that had a justification or provided a summary for each of the agenda items, A through F. That provided a very specific description of the project for you to be able to review. And I can go through each one, but I did want to draw your attention to the fact that that is in open text under the Board of Finance meeting so that you can either go along with me or you can look at your leisure. But it does describe in detail each of these projects that we're requesting your authorization to execute the IFO and PLO, and that's what the resolutions you have in front of you. And again, just to reiterate, this is to streamline that process. All of these applications have been submitted, and these are, again, the first one is for the Clean Water Fund. This was part of Referendum 2, which was appropriated by the board in 2012, and this is one of those projects. This is actually to fund the implementation of the sanitary sewer evaluation, implementation of remaining sanitary sewer study recommendations in West Hartford, the sewer shed area. It's a contract we currently have going with National Water Main. And again, it was the appropriation under Referendum 2. So that the funds were appropriated, and now we're entering into, or want permission to enter into, the IFO PLO. So that's that project.
I did have a couple of questions that were given to me by commissioners, not just board members here, but by commissioners after reading the stuff that you put in open text. So we'll get to that. But I, with respect to the process, I thought you did a great job last time, and I really appreciated you doing that. I don't think we need to do the process again in any detail. I think that people got it last time, and if somebody does have a question about the process, they're certainly welcome to ask it.
Yep.
I'm just going to assume that we're in good shape with that, and unless somebody asks about the process of how we approved funding in the original CIP, now we're actually approving the expenditure or the use of the money for the project. Is that correct?
You've approved the appropriation previously, like you do every capital budget. You approve the IP budget, so that's the appropriation. So you give us permission to spend the money. This is the approval to enter into the grant and loan agreement and the interim funding agreement, which allows DEEP in the case of the Clean Water Fund, and the rest, B through F, is the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund with DPH. Those are our water revolving fund projects with DPH. So to enter into those agreements so that we can start being reimbursed for the projects that we are spending funding on. So it's for the grant and loan agreements to execute those.
I think everybody gets that. They're associated with the CIP project description, and we're just getting it done now.
Yep.
All right, so why don't you go ahead, and if there's a question, please, from anybody here or anybody at home, please just raise your hand or speak up, and we'll get an answer for you. Go ahead.
Okay, so we went through item A. Does anybody have any questions on that one?
I do.
Okay. And if I can't answer it, because if it's a project-specific question, I'm going to call on Susan or Chris.
Okay, great. Now, this is obviously in West Hartford, for 5A, for the sanitary sewer evaluation. Now, in West Hartford, we do have a combined sewer system. Am I correct, Scott, about that?
That in portions of it, this is specific to, we were required under our consent order to do certain things, and this is one of them. This is removing I&I from West Hartford, from Weathersfield, Bloomfield, well, not Bloomfield, and portions Rocky Hill. So these are these projects that are, are part of our consent order, part of our long-term control plan, and now part of the integrated plan. So it's just a matter of, as Kelly said, you approve these projects, we're spending money. Some of them, we might have spent all the money and we're just waiting for the loan agreement so we can start getting reimbursed. Some of them, as the last presentation Kelly mentioned, we're gonna, to save time, we're gonna bring these in front of you all at once so that when they're approved, once we're ready, we can just, we don't have to come back to the board and go to the, or the Board of Finance and go to the full board. We're trying to save time by bringing everything all up front, all at once. But all of these projects, you've already authorized us to spend and we're spending it. So now we don't get reimbursed. We always talk about cash flow. MDC, we spend about $30 million a month, roughly, right? 30 million, sometimes more, but $30 million a month is going out of the checkbook, MDC checkbook. And it's one checkbook. And all of that money has got to pay for everything until we get reimbursed. And we can't get reimbursed until we have these IFOs, PLOs in place.
Okay.
I think that we understand that part. I just didn't want anybody to think, and I continue to say that nobody here has to think that they can't ask a question about a project. And you're certainly welcome to ask a question about a project. When you read this stuff, like you said, that's in open text, and I've been reading these kinds of things for 30-something years. I mean, sometimes, you need to have your memory refreshed about what was this about, and particularly since commissioners don't work on this stuff every day, so.
Well, the resolutions are a tough read. Bond counsel writes those, but that's why engineering and Bibiana here and Jason Waterbury helped put together this, I would call it the Cliff Notes for each of the projects. And it tells you the project, what we're actually doing for each of these projects, who the contractor is, the value of that project, and the scheduled completion date of the project. We talked about the Clean Water Fund project, which is actually the CCTVing installation of lining, working on, 20 miles of linear feet of sewer mains. So I guess we're rehabbing them. And we're also doing some service connections on 2,200 properties. So that's that first project. And if you don't mind, B through F again are all DPH projects, water projects. And the first item 5B is $10 million for the Sherman, South Marshall, and Laurel Streets. I'm sorry, that's part of that capital appropriation from 2022. But this is a contract with VMS that's in process about ductile iron water main and in these different streets and meter pit installations in Hartford. If you want me to stop and ask if there are any questions on each project or keep going?
No, I think you just keep going. I
Okay.
think people can just interrupt if they're, and just say, I have a question, and go ahead.
Okay. The next one, item 5C, is for a capital improvement project for the upgrades to the Rocky Hill Water Pollution Control Facility. Of that, this specific project is a contract for the headworks and electrical upgrades. C.H. Nickerson has that contract, and it's scheduled to be completed at the end of 2026, December of 26. Yes, sir?
Okay, Julia. So for this one, there was a project at Rocky Hill, and is this a continuation of that project, or was that project it needed additional funding, or maybe you could explain
Why don't you
it?
finish more?
So
She drive only one more.
So we've had multiple projects at Rocky Hill, and this is another improvement project and electrical upgrades. This isn't an A or a B, or is it? It's another phase?
Yes, another phase of
Okay.
home improvements.
Yep, so it's another phase of the Rocky Hill improvement, so you are correct. It's another phase.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Item 5D is a capital improvement project for water main replacements in East Hartford. This is a contract with VMS. That is scheduled to be completed this summer. This is Chadwick, Goodwin, and Deerfield replacements. And, oh wait, did I just skip something? I'm sorry. That was 5C, and now I'm on, that was
You're on D.
D, yeah, for East Hartford.
Yeah, you're on D, yeah.
Yeah, I was right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Paramount Construction, I apologize. Or there's two contracts here, right? There's two contracts here, right? VMS, and then Chadwick, Goodwin, and Deerfield, which is Paramount Construction, and that's ending at the end of this year. My apologies. Item
E, you should be on E now.
E. Item E is a wastewater collection system improvement in Hartford and East Hartford. That's also Chadwick, Goodwin, and Deerfield. That's the same project, but it's another funding source for that project. So it's another 1.6 million on that project. So that contract had a couple of different funding sources for a couple of different pieces of that project.
Now, my understanding on that project is that this is repair replacement. This is not new. This is not new. This is repair replacement of existing stuff. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then item F is $3 million and $7 million for various capital improvement projects in Hartford. So this includes the project on Cornwall Street for water main replacements. Genovese is conducting that project, and that's ending in September at the end of this summer or early fall. And then also Chadwick, that's also part of the Chadwick, Goodwin, and Deerfield water and sewer mains. That's Paramount as well. That's part of that project.
Are there any questions on these, any one of these 6 items or last ones? Hearing none, I would ask the district council, can we combine these 6
Take them all at once if you
in
want.
one
Yeah.
vote for,
Yeah,
does it
that's
need
fine.
to be a roll call vote, or is it?
Not a roll call, but whomever makes the motion, make sure that they specify they're including all items under 5A through F.
Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion that, to approve all 6 of these items associated with item number 5 of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or any further questions on it? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. So item number 6, consideration of potential action of supplemental appropriation of $1 million for 2025 integrated plan project, the LTC IP district-wide sewer separation drainage study. Yeah, so if we can have somebody explain that one too, I think, just generally, what's the study? It's district-wide, so does it include all member towns, or?
The whole Hartford area. So this is a little bit of a hybrid. So we're asking for a supplemental appropriation. This is an appropriation now. This is actually asking you to add $1 million to the appropriation that you gave us to spend money in December of 2024 for the Integrated Plan 2025 capital project you approved in December with the budget, the CIP budget, but for the Integrated Plan budget, you approved $4.5 million for the drainage study. We're asking for a supplement to that to add another $1 million to that study. This is for the entire Hartford area. We did have the Franklin Avenue piece was going to be part of a separate project, but because this is part of the consent order from DEEP, we're adding Franklin Avenue to make this all part of the one study and doing it all at once. with our consultant. So that's why we were adding this $1 million, asking to add it to this appropriation.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, let me, and you can answer it, Scott. I was going to ask that this is in response to an increase in the scope of services or an actual physical increase in the scope where we're adding a street that we didn't have in Farmington Ave or Franklin Avenue? What did you say?
It's Franklin Avenue.
Franklin Avenue that wasn't there before? Maybe you can explain
Yeah,
that.
so, and I apologize for the confusion, but we were mandated to do even in the MS4, we were mandated to do a sewer study in all of Hartford. And the $1 million we're asking for is not more money, it's just we were planning to do Franklin next year. So we had budgeted $1 million to come before this committee next year to do Franklin Avenue. We want to do it all at the same time because we're required by our, if you remember, we pushed $300 million worth of work as part of the revised integrated plan and the agreement with DEEP that we would shift $300 million worth of work. A majority of that work that they allowed us to shift so we wouldn't increase the rate on everyone because of North Hartford improvements went from 47 million to 170. They agreed to let us shift the projects that would separate and eliminate overflows to the Weathersfield Cove. So that we call that contract 4 and Franklin 4. And so the plan was to do all that work on the Franklin 4 drainage study next year with that $1 million. And we're proposing to just do it all at once this year. So it's not an additional $1 million, it's just forwarding that request early from this coming year to this year.
So you're moving the scope that was in next year's services
Correct.
to this year, and that's just, anybody have any other questions about this?
I just want to add, it's not just the supplemental. We're also asking for that $1 million because last month, or I'm sorry, the last meeting in March, we asked for that $4.5 million, the IFO and PLO. We're also combining that in this resolution to not only ask for the supplemental, but also to include this $1 million as part of the IFO and PLO so that we can request so that we can request the grant and loan for this additional for this $1 million that's being added to this project.
So can you just explain the acronyms IFO and PLO?
I'm
So everybody knows
sorry.
what they mean.
I'm sorry, the interim funding obligation and the project loan obligation and agreement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so this, I guess, is also says potential action. So this, I believe, is not a roll call vote either. No. So Chair will entertain a motion for approval.
Move the item.
Or item number 6.
Move the item.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any further discussion or questions regarding the particular item number 6? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. And Scott, thanks.
Yep, thank you.
We're on item number 7. I said at the beginning that the only reason we put this on here is that if you looked at the minutes that we just approved earlier last week, it made it sound like it was completed, but there were a couple of questions and suggestions about the presentation that was given for the financial part of it. The only reason to put this on here was I want to make sure that everybody got that revised. You should have gotten a revised presentation. And if everybody got it, members of this board got it. That was our responsibility. We don't really need to take any action on this. It was just to make sure that we got the revision. Item number 8, opportunity for general public comments. Are there any general public comments? Any general public comments? Hearing none. Item number 9, commissioner request for consideration of future agenda items.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, yes.
if I could just be given a little bit of latitude, it's not really a question on this, but, and I think our ICA is logged off, but if we could ask through you to Scott or one of the staff to,
I'm right here, though.
oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If you could identify yourself when speaking, so the viewing audience will know what your name is in the future, that would be great.
That's it? Okay, any,
I will. I'm sorry.
I know what your name is. I'm sorry, I just happen to know as well. Any commissioners request for consideration of future agenda items? Well, I'd like, since we still have some of our finance folks here, to understand, my understanding is that the annual audit is usually due by the end of May. And I don't know if we've received, I'd like to make sure that this board receives the draft audit or whatever, the first round of the audit, so that we can certainly get a look at it and have any questions or anything set up for our next meeting. Is it due again by the end of May this year?
The audit's on track to be completed by it won't be completed by the end of May, no. It's due June 30th. To be filed by June 30th. And we've had some changes on the CLA side recently. So I can talk to you after the meeting as well. But we are on track. They're just completing the last few submissions. And I'm working right now on the MD&A and the transmittal letter and those final things. And we're waiting for them to give back all of our final numbers so we can put it all together. But we're on track with
Well,
them.
what I'm looking for is the audit
Yeah, they're
document
not done
from
yet.
them, not the
They're not
MDC.
done yet.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, they're not done yet.
So if we can keep track on that, if you can let me know, I'd like to make sure that we get whatever comes through in the beginning, that we get a look at it so we can ask some questions about it if we have any. So
Of course.
I appreciate that.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Where our plan is, before the audit is finished, we're going to have CLA in here to discuss. As you know, we can't change the audit, right? So the audit is what it is. If they say what they say, whatever it is, there's nothing we can do, I can do, the board can do to change the audit. But we will make sure that the auditors come in here and explain the audit before it gets filed with the state of Connecticut.
Well, and my question is that, I think that this particular board has a very specific responsibility with respect to the audit. So, the audit letter gets sent to us. So I want to make sure that we get a look at that, what comes in the beginning. And not that we would suggest changing anything, but I think there are people here with enough experience at the MDC's finances to be able to ask questions that they see may not be answered directly by the audit. So that's my only point.
Yep.
Last year, I believe CLA shared a draft of their audit with you and will do so again.
That's what I'm getting at,
Yep.
but they did have it by the end of May. So you're just saying it's maybe not going to be done by the end of May this time, which, as long as it's before our next Board of Finance meeting, I'm okay with it.
It'll be before we file. So if we have to have a special meeting, we're happy to do that.
Okay.
We'll make sure that before we file the audit, that the Board of Finance clearly understands what we're doing.
Great,
And they may be done by the end of May. I'm just not sure.
okay. All right, that was my one suggestion that for future agenda items. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Nice job.